G'day, mate 40 here. I'm looking at an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, why the Catholic Church is losing Latin America. And I think the answer to this is the same as the answer to why the industrialized world is becoming increasingly less religious, and the same answer is why some people go to 12-step programs and other people go to yoga and other people go to therapy. It comes down to what works, right? And I think a lot of people in Latin America simply find that conservative Pentecostalism just simply works for them better. So conservative Pentecostals make huge inroads despite the region's first pope. Brazil is poised to become a minority Catholic as soon as this year. Now, that Brazil is majority Catholic is true pro forma, but in my experience with Catholics, and probably your experience too, 90% don't take their Catholicism seriously. So that let's say Brazil might have 200 million Catholics. Out of that, maybe about 5 million take it seriously. So I grew up a Seventh-day Adventist, and that's a high-intensity religion where people donate 10% of their income to the church, they keep the Sabbath. It's high-intensity religion. Orthodox Judaism, high-intensity religion, but mainstream Protestantism and Catholicism is low-intensity religion for 90% of people who are nominally Protestant or Catholic. So it talks about this sex worker who used to walk the streets high on crack cocaine. Last year, this woman, a mother of 5, joined a small Pentecostal congregation in downtown Rio called Sanctification in the Lord. She left her old life behind. She says, "The pastor hugged me without asking anything. When you were poor, it makes so much of a difference when someone just says good morning to you, good afternoon, or shakes your hand." I remember when I worked construction, when I worked in landscaping, it did make all the difference in the world when someone would recognize your humanity. I remember the first 2 or 3 days that I had this landscaping job were absolutely brutal. I was just swinging a pick and shovel all day. And then I went to work at the home of this real estate developer, Doug Hanslick, and he just recognized my humanity. Like, it made all the difference in the world. I just went from hating this type of work to loving it because he recognized that I had an Australian accent, and he knew my name. He just recognized me as a human being. I remember I dropped out of college for a semester to just work construction, and we had a work assignment up at the California State University, Chico, and then there were all these college students around who were partying and having a good time, and I was in college too. I was taking 2 night classes, but I just felt so cut off. I felt like I was looked at as just a dumb construction worker and didn't have any meaningful interaction with the college students. Like, no one recognized my humanity. And so when you're down on your luck, someone simply recognizes your humanity, it makes all the difference in the world. So this woman found a home. She found people who recognized her humanity, and so she joined that church. So how can churches or synagogues, say, compete against TV and sports and yoga? Well, you create a family, right? If you go to a place and they recognize your humanity and you have friends there, you're very likely to join. And if you go to a church or synagogue and you don't have friends there, you're going to drop out. So these things don't primarily come down to theology. They primarily come down to matters of human connection. So for centuries, to be Latin American was to be Catholic. The religion faced no competition. Well, when you face no competition, then you get sloppy and lazy and you take people for granted. So today, Catholicism has lost adherents to other faiths in the region, especially Pentecostalism, and more recently to the ranks of the unchurched. So 7 countries in Latin America now have a majority of non-Catholics in 2018. And Brazil, which was the most Catholic of any country in the world, is expected to become minority Catholic this year. Because it all comes down to what works. And when you're the only game in town, you will get lazy. So why the reason for this shift? Well, Protestant countries usually secularize first. Right, so we do have a growing secularization movement throughout the world, but evangelical churches are especially effective at using social media, but they create feelings in people, like the whole celebration movement in Protestantism. You go to church and you feel amazing. People want to feel amazing. People want to feel connected and they want to feel good. When you feel connected, you tend to feel good. When you feel good, you want to connect. Right, so someone who's selfish, someone who's self-absorbed, they're disconnected. Right? There's no good telling them, don't be selfish, don't be self-absorbed. As soon as they get connected, then they'll naturally incline towards helping other people. when you're happy, you're naturally inclined towards helping other people. If you're unhappy, then you're walking around with some kind of gaping psychic wound, and you're not going to be thinking about helping other people. So the Catholic Church is often described as out of touch with the everyday struggles of its congregation. So it was the only game in town, so it got sloppy at meeting people's needs and connecting people to the transcendent and making people feel good. So the Catholic Church in Latin America was taken over by liberation theology in the 1960s and 70s. So the Catholic Church opted for the poor, and the poor opted for the Pentecostals. So these religious changes in Latin America are having far-reaching social and political consequences. So Pentecostal Christians tend to vote right wing. They tend to vote for people like Trump. All right. These right-wing people from the favelas moving to the halls of Congress propelled right-wing President Jair Bolsonaro to power in 2018. So Bolsonaro still identifies as Catholic, but he got himself baptized by a Pentecostal pastor in the River Jordan in 2016 in the lead up to his campaign. So Pentecostalism is about connecting people with God. It emphasizes direct contact with the Holy Spirit through physical forms of worship. People want to feel good. Like people go to yoga to feel good. It's a physical way of feeling good and connecting with other people. And there's a whole experience of being born again. And many people who've been struggling want to get rid of an old self and step into a new self. So mainline Protestant churches such as Anglicans and Lutherans have not made inroads into Latin America. It's the transformational, physical, connection, celebration style worship which works. Right? It's like the Happy Minyan, the Shlomo Karlbach style celebration style of davening in Orthodox Judaism, which is, energized a lot of people, and Hasidic Judaism, which is about connection with God. All right, that's had great success because people get into it and they feel good, they feel happy, they feel connected to God, to themselves, to the higher purpose, to the transcendent, to their fellows. For example, Lubavitch Hasidim, the Chabadniks, overwhelmingly seem very happy people. So in Latin America, secularism is definitely on the march. So more countries are legalizing abortion. Even in Mexico, the Catholic Church's hold on society is weakening. The Supreme Court of Mexico voted to decriminalize abortion. So Latin America and the Caribbean are home to 41% of the world's Catholics. So you get people connected, you give them a physical, exciting, transcendent experience. That's a winning structure. So Pentecostalism has a loose organizational structure. Churches offer material as well as spiritual help. Right? People get food, people get jobs. I've never had a rabbi ask me what I believe about God. I've had rabbis ask me, do I need a job? What type of job am I looking for? Do I need an apartment? Do I need health care? Do I need a car? Judaism is very pragmatic. And you develop a group that ministers to people's physical, spiritual, emotional needs. You've got a winning formula. So these Pentecostal churches, they feed people, they have soccer clubs, they have health care. All right? So you connect people and you give them good feelings, and you help them eat, and you help them sleep, and you help them work, you help them make money, and you help them have a better style of life. That's a winning formula. So the informal structure of the Pentecostal and evangelical churches allows for greater contact between church leaders and the laity. So Catholic priests wouldn't even have coffee with us, some of them they call. So the members of the Protestant clergy are more accessible. And evangelicals tend to be much more engaged. Right? 60% of those interviewed in 2007 study in Brazil said they go to church more than once a week, compared with only 16% on Catholics. So people want intensity. Right? People are leaving low-intensity religions, such as mainstream Protestantism and Catholicism, for high-intensity religions. So tithes high-intensity religion or tithe. Profits from business empires run by Brazil's evangelical churches include TV networks, cruise companies. It's given the movement of financial firepower. It enables it to expand. And the pastors offers down-to-earth advice. There's therapy, group sessions of couples therapy. And Pentecostal pastors are typically married, which gives them an advantage over celibate Catholic priests. And many Pentecostals preach the theology of prosperity, the prosperity gospel, which says God's grace is reflected in material wealth. People want to get wealthy. And people want to be happy, people want to be connected, people want to feel good, people want to dream, people want inspiration. And people want to get rich. So we've got a growing charismatic movement in Catholicism, which is trying to compete